Imagine you are driving on the highway and bam, you got into a car accident. What's next? 5,000 ringgit for repair bills, 5,000 ringgit or even more of hospital charges. That's easily more than 10,000 ringgit gone just like that. But hey, you don't have to worry because you have an emergency fund ready, right? Yes, you see, a lot of us believe that by already having a car, a stable job, a house, it's best to invest every single ringgit left to fight the 3 to 4% inflation than to put them into your emergency fund. But no, that's just 50% of the entire picture. And before you say,
hey, this video confirm sponsored by insurance company lah.
no, it's not. This video is not sponsored by an insurance company and I'm not trying to sell you any insurance plans here. So, here's the thing about emergencies. We can't plan any of them, like health issues, accidents, touch wood, losing your job, etc., which is the whole point of you having that backup fund. Yes, you might be looking at the fund and thinking, wah, cannot lah, no movement, not beating inflation, how to get richer war. But when you really are in an emergency, do you think you will care about inflation? No, right? You will just be grateful for that cash, that liquid cash in your hands. And that's why the truth is,
cash is king.
So the big question here is, how much do you save for an emergency? You might or might not have heard that the golden rule is 3 to 6 months of expenses. So take a look at what you spend monthly from house rental, food, transportation, insurance, utilities, and personal expenses, because typically that's what most of us in our 20 to 30s would spend on. Here's some simple calculations for you here. Say your gross salary is 5,000 ringgit, and after deducting all those EPF, SOCSO, etc., your take-home pay is about 4,300 ringgit. And assuming you have around 2,600 ringgit of expenses monthly and balance of 1,700 ringgit, this would most likely be how much ready cash you will have for the next 3 to 12 months for your emergency fund. And of course, this is also not considering if you have any dependents, which I'm sure some of you might have, and your expenses could be higher. But my point here is this simple breakdown can help you understand your monthly expenditure and help you to identify areas where you can potentially make cuts for your emergency funds. But that said, this is very situational because I actually know someone in real life with some issues with his heart, and because of that, insurance companies did not want to insure him. So what to do? He got to keep at least 24 months of expenses just for that purpose in case he need to do a heart surgery. So you see, it's very subjective. But hold on, what if your emergency fund is not ready in time? Kanchong already, but still no liquid cash on hand. Don't panic, I have some alternatives for you. Not the most sexiest solution, but at least these are alternatives. First, credit cards. And don't underestimate these plastic cards, because having them is like having instant cash on your hands. And the best part is you can pay back them later or even split up your payments over a time frame. And if you need physical cash, most credit cards have cash advance options, meaning you can convert your credit limit and withdraw them as cash instantly at a rather high interest rates. Of course, not the cheapest thing, but it gets the job done. Most banks like CIMB, Maybank, UOB, HSBC all do provide that service. Next, very similar to the previous one, personal loans by banks, which you can use to cover anything like medical bills, car repairs, everyday bills, etc. And if you have a good credit score, personal loans can often be approved as fast as 10 minutes or just within like 30 minutes, few hours or even days. Yes, crazy interest rates for some, but again, it provides you the instant support that you need, and obviously that's what matters during an emergency, right? Now, the third option you have is insurance or medical cards, and we all know that medical bills can get very expensive, especially for private hospital. Let's just say you touch wood kena stroke and want to be treated in the private hospital. That could cost you easily around 35 to 75,000 ringgit. You can say, oh, I can go to public hospital ma, it's cheaper. Yeah, it is cheaper, but it still starts from 4,000 ringgit. And let's not forget, these are just treatment fees, because there are still consultation fees, hospitalization fees, equipment, and yada yada yada. So the medical card provides you with the peace of mind. At least if really, again, touch wood, anything happens to you, and you can just focus on recovery instead of the money. You can always get the cheapest, most basic plan for around 180 to 250 ringgit per month in your 20s, and that will usually let you claim up to ₦1,000,000 ringgit per year. And if you look at it from an investment point of view, or even just layman personal finance point of view, you are paying about 2.5k ringgit of annual premium to get ₦1,000,000 ringgit of coverage. That's a 400 times leverage of your money. Of course, it's most likely going down to the drain, hopefully, but at least the peace of mind is there. And most insurance companies like Great Eastern or Prudential, all those kind, they have those medical cards, so I will leave that part for you to explore. Again, I'm not sponsored, so just as a word of advice, try to avoid investment or savings linked plans. You're welcome. Okay, now that you have gotten your emergency fund sorted, but let's say you still got some extra cash and you don't know what to do with it, but yet you don't want to leave it in the savings account. So these are some options for you to consider. Firstly, the good old safe and stable fixed deposits. One example is like Maybank's e-fixed deposit, where they can offer you 2.7% interest per annum starting from a 1-month tenor up to 3.1% for a 13 to 35 months tenor. Low but guaranteed returns. And pro tip here, usually banks will give higher FD rates compared to the EFD that you put online. So if you can visit the physical counter or the physical bank yourself, a bit of pain, but that's essentially extra money on the table waiting for you. Second option, money market funds or MMFs. They are considered safe investments as well with slightly more risk, and since they are categorized as investments, your money is not PIDM insured up to 250,000 ringgit. Some of the most popular ones are like Stashaway Simple, Kenangan Digital Investing KDI, Versa, or Touch and Go Go Plus, and that gives you about 3 to 4% in returns, slightly higher than FDs and more liquidity, but returns again are not guaranteed, and you can withdraw your funds anytime without any penalty. So not too bad of an option if you ask me. So if you want a combination of safety, liquidity, and higher yields, this could be one way for you to go. Now if you feel both of the options are just meh and you want to take even higher risk, which is what I'm doing myself, it's time for you to invest in the US stock market. And this one's a little bit more daring, but I can say that the rewards can be worth it if you are in for the long run. And just look at the average annual return of the US S&P 500 index. It's a whopping 11.88% per annum. And let's say you invested $1,000 back in 2010, by the end of 2020, that investment could have grown to $3,620, and that's just the power of riding along with the top 500 companies in the US. So yes, the stakes are higher, but if you're up for the challenge, the US stock market might just be what you have been missing all this time. And if you're ready to invest in the US stock market, here's where I would like to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, Momo, a brokerage platform that provides you advanced charting tools, analysis, and also smart indicators for you to identify stock price trends easily and faster, both on their mobile app as well as their desktop trading platform. Plus, they provide you free 24/7 market news coverage from various reliable resources such as Bloomberg and CNBC, so you would not miss if there's any important updates in the market. Feel free to use my link down below in the pinned comment to download the app and also get some free rewards. But note that for Malaysian users, you can still sign up for an account now, but you would have to wait for them to be officially and fully licensed in Malaysia before you can start trading with it. At the moment, they just obtained the approval in principle AIP license from the Malaysian regulators, so give them a little bit of time, like 1 or 2 months, and I'm sure you will see them in Malaysia very soon. So that's all for this video. I hope I have given you a little bit more context and ideas to think about your emergency funds and savings, because sometimes if you just inject a little bit of creativity here and there, you can actually take a little bit more calculated risk to earn higher returns, but at the same time, keep yourself safe at all times. Let me know in the comments down below if you have a different view on emergency funds, or just really share your experience when it comes to emergency stuff based on your experience, because I'm sure it will be eye-opener for others to read as well. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk, and I hope you enjoyed this slightly more casual way of sharing my thoughts, and as usual, I will see you in the next one.